agenda is David Watts of Watts Organic Farm. And I just real quickly want to say the farm is certified organic fresh produce and chicken operation in Pittsgrove, New Jersey. It's owned and operated by David Watts and Sydney Gavinelli. David has been working in the agricultural industry for 11 years and has a bachelor's degree in agricultural education from Delaware Valley University. And this is one of the things I really liked in talking with David when we were setting up for tonight. He said one of his goals for the farm is to reconnect people with their food. And he does this by engaging with people at farm markets, through on-site tours, and talking at workshops and info sessions. So I'd like to welcome again David Watts. And David, can you give us a quick overview on the business challenges and changes that you're seeing in farming this year?
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks for having me, guys. Go Aggies, as someone said in the chat there. Good to see another person from Del Val. Yeah, so some of the challenges that we've seen in the industry have kind of decided our business model a little bit. The main thing being the rise of input cost, even before this whole Ukraine crisis, that really spiked the cost of fuel, and then making fertilizers cost goes up as well, since fertilizer costs are linked with the fossil fuels that it takes to produce them, and then also the power needed to create such labor-intensive fossil fuels. And being certified organic, that doesn't affect us. You wouldn't think that would affect us too much, because all of our inputs come from organic means. But of course, that doesn't stop companies from raising prices up because everything else is going up. But because inputs have been historically high, especially for our certified organic operations, we have the goal to reduce our input needs by at least 80% over the next 10 years. And we're doing that by using sustainable and regenerative practices, such as mainly using animals, reintegrating animals into our food system, since historically that's how things were. Everyone had a cow. The cow did its business on the ground with manure. You put that manure back in the field or compost it. So we have the chickens right now that are part of that system, which we use them to lay. They go in the fields before our produce goes in there. It's 120 days before, because that's what the food safety guidelines are. So they're adding some of the fertilizer into the areas we're growing in. We are going to be getting cows and sheep and pigs in the future. We actually just connected, I can confirm this, last week, a local brewery's opening up in Elmer, New Jersey, and we'll be getting some of their byproducts from the brewing process, and then taking that on our farm and composting it and putting it back into farmers' fields. But back on how the local economy and the challenges we've been seeing. The other one is labor. Labor is obviously a big thing. If anyone's a business owner or knows a business owner, oftentimes you hear them talk about that, because it makes up about 40 to 50% of any cost of an item, especially in agriculture. And we were going to hire someone this year, and like I said, we're on year 2 now, and we did the math after doing the interview, and I was like, well, if we pay this person a livable wage at $15, $16 an hour, most of the time they'll be making more than I would doing this. So we actually had to postpone that, unfortunately, because of the high labor cost. So that's thing number 2 that's really affecting the industry. And you see that a lot in a lot of farms in the area, especially those that are using HACCP, which is one of the main programs of how they get migrant workers from outside the country into the US, because that's actually linked to the average income of workers in your area. And specifically in Salem County, with Amazon opening up several warehouses and other warehouses opening up, since they're paying people at $20+ an hour, that's raised the price of HACCP workers. And now it's $16, $17 an hour, which before it was 12 to 14. So that's really affected the price of labor just in Salem County and across South Jersey, which has made it even more difficult for a lot of farmers to make a living when they're selling to wholesale markets. And speaking of wholesale markets, one of the things we do, yes, HACCP and HQA. Sorry, I get them confused. There's a lot of those terms in the area that are acronyms for this, that, and the other thing. I just want to put plants in the ground, but society's not that easy anymore. Thank you for clarifying that. HQA. But one of the ways that we've kind of adjusted to the wholesale price is we do 90% of our crops that we grow, including our eggs, go through the retail market, which is how we control how much we're making off of our food. Because as soon as you sell your produce to a wholesaler, you don't have the say of what your price is a lot of the time. So by doing it, the heavy retail market, we're able to make more of a living that way. For example, if you buy a tomato and for the sake of math, it's $1 at the Acme, a farmer is only making like 25 cents, if that, off of that tomato. Most of the times it's like 15 cents off of the dollar. So this way we're taking that whole dollar up, which is nice because as someone put it in an interview, actually, I think it was in the article that was listed, I don't mind working up 10 hours a week farming. I just want to make a living doing it. So yeah, those are three things that we see in the industry here at Watts Organic Farm. Any other questions or points you want me to bring up? Just let me know. I love talking about it.
We're gonna save questions for after everyone speaks, except I'm gonna make an exception because can you just briefly talk about why you feel it's so important to connect to the consumer?
Yes.
In a minute or so.
Yes, I can do that. Sorry, you did say that when you started talking. One of the ways we like to do that, why it's so important, is one of the best ways I've seen it put recently is I'm reading a book entitled Folks, This Ain't Normal. And the whole point of the book is about how modern society has really come a long way from our very basic food systems and how being so far away from that just ain't normal, as the author puts it. It's written by a farmer. And most people don't really think about where their food comes from anymore. That's just so vitally important for existence. Like if you can think about how much food you eat in a day, but thinking about where it came from, most of us don't do that. Not, and even fewer can even answer that question of where their food actually came from. So for me, also having the heart of an educator, it's just so important to actually talk to people of all ages of where their food actually comes from. And we do that we've had two homeschooling groups come through. I had some college students come through, and we do open tours as well for those that are interested. And then really at our farmers markets, I've done a few workshops or info sessions, as some people call them, about these topics, because it's just almost disheartening once you get into really thinking about how disconnected our society is from our food.